Hi, I'm Garm1, and this is Midgardia's cool crowdfunding show. I'm here today with Jason Cordova. How's it going?
Hi, Garm. I'm doing great, thanks.
So you're here to tell us a little bit about Brindlewood Bay, so why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Brindlewood Bay is a game that is coming to Kickstarter on April 26th, and it is about a group of elderly women in a small New England town called Brindlewood Bay. And these elderly women solve murder mysteries a la Murder, She Wrote. And as they are solving their murder mysteries, they eventually begin to realize that there is a dark occult conspiracy that connects the cases. And so they eventually have to face that dark conspiracy.
So Murder, She Wrote meets like X-Files or
Or like
Supernatural.
or like Cthulhu mythos, like
Yeah,
H.P. Lovecraft, like Shadow over Innsmouth. It's very that, right? It doesn't have any of those like it's not like that. It's not like actual Cthulhu mythos. We have our own little mythos, but it's that vibe, right? It's like Murder She Wrote meets cosmic horror. Yeah.
right on. So how does Brindlewood Bay play?
Yeah, so Brindlewood Bay is powered by the Apocalypse, and so if you're familiar with games based off of Apocalypse World by Vincent and McGay Baker, you'll have the basics of the dice and stuff. You'll understand how that works. The real key thing about Brindlewood Bay, though, is that it features a mystery system that I developed, which is designed to make it feel like the players are actually solving a murder mystery at the table. And I'm super proud of it. The way it works is the murder mavens. That's what we call these characters. They're so named because they are members of a book club called the Murder Mavens, a mystery book club. And the Murder Mavens, they learn about the murder, and then they go about trying to gather clues. And you can gather clues however you want. There's no like structured way of doing it. So if you want to go question this person, you can do that. If you want to go search over here, you can do that. If you want to, whatever wild idea you come up with, you can investigate however you want, because the keeper, which is what we call the GM in Brindlewood Bay, the keeper has a list of clues that are meant to be to where you can kind of pick from them and find a clue that works in the moment, right? And so you gather up all your clues, and then once you've gathered enough, you do what's called theorizing. And so, as a group, as a play group, you all theorize about you make a theory of the case. Like, okay, based off these clues that we found, who do we think did it, right? And the keeper doesn't know who did it, right? The players don't know until they start theorizing, necessarily who did it. But you sit there and you have this conversation, and it's like you're actually puzzling it out, right? And then based off how many clues you're able to work into your theory, you roll some dice and get a bonus. And you're either excuse me, your theory is either correct and you'll be able to bring the culprit to justice. Your theory is correct, but there's a complication. Either the culprit is alerted to it, or there's some kind of danger, or your theory is incorrect and things get worse. Usually, what I like to do is your culprit gets murdered, and so thereby showing you how wrong you were, right? But that's basically how it works. It has a sort of an emphasis on like the light and cozy, feel, but also as you play, especially after you play multiple sessions, it starts to take this like darker, more horror focused turn, and it's a great balance. But yeah, the mystery system is really the main like selling point of the game, I think.
Yeah, no, that rules, because like murder mysteries are infamously kind of obnoxious to do in most tabletop games.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And like that angle of like the keeper doesn't actually know. It's up to the players to come up with a convincing
Mhm.
solution. That rules. Like
Yeah, thank you. It's fun too. Like you legit feel like you're solving a mystery. And that's always been my issue with tabletop role-playing games that do mysteries, is it never really feels like that. It always kind of feels like you're on a railroad, or it feels like you've done something wrong and so you're not reaching the solution, or just the systems don't emphasize the mystery parts. They just are focused on like combat and stuff, so like and
not
so I wanted to make a game that was like a mystery game.
not naming names, of course, but
No, I don't mind naming names, but we won't for now.
yeah. For now, keep watching the interview. Names might be
Indeed,
named later.
names might be named. Yeah.
So, I know that the game's already been released. I think on Drive Through RPG.
It has been, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what's up with the Kickstarter?
Yeah, so well, let's talk about the drive-through thing actually, because it has been released for a couple of years in a digital format on Drive-through RPG. It's a it's kind of like a slim version of the game. It's like everything you need just to run it, you know. And that has been really great. People have responded really well to that, and we're super excited about it. And I should mention, if you have not yet checked out Brindlewood Bay, that drive-through edition is currently pay what you want. We're doing it pay what you want until we get to the Kickstarter. So you have like no reason to like not go check out the game. Like if you want to go download it for free, like go for it. But yeah, so that's the digital edition was basically our way of sort of building up the fan base of the game, right? And so now we're ready for Kickstarter, and Kickstarter is going to be we're actually kickstarting 2 books. Well, there's a third thing, but we'll talk about that maybe later. But there are 2 books, and the first book is like the core rules of Brindlewood Bay. So it is an expanded version of what's on Drive-Through, plus a lot of keeper advice, all the original mysteries, plus another mystery that was new from the original mysteries. And that's 1 book. And then the second book is called Nephews in Peril. That's the supplement book that includes a really big section on the actual town of Brindlewood Bay, like a setting section. And then it has 10 more mysteries for the game. So between the 2 books, you're getting 16 mysteries, a big like setting portion. You're getting expanded rules and stuff like that. So it's just like the core game, but like a lot more, right? Based off what we released on Drive-Through anyway. But yeah, it's, we suspect that, I can't say for sure, but we suspect there will be some stretch goals that expand the number of mysteries and things as well. So, but we'll see how that goes.
Right on. And I take it, given that you're using a fancy Zoom background, that is approximately the
This is
environment.
this is what my Brindlewood Bay looks like. Yeah. So I run the game all the time on my YouTube channel, and this is the background I use. So I've got 3 backgrounds. I've got this background, I've got scary Victorian London background for my other game, and I've got dark spooky forest for Trophy, which is another game we publish. So those are my 3 backgrounds.
Right on. So, how did Brindlewood Bay come about?
Yeah, so I originally was developing a game back in like around early 2019 or so. I was developing a game called The Between. And The Between is a game about monster hunters in Victorian era London. And I was running into kind of a problem with the game because I wanted it to be a mystery focused game. I was inspired by Penny Dreadful. That was the main inspiration for that game. And I wanted to have this like mystery system. I could run it. Jason, could run it as a mystery from my head, but I didn't know how to like formalize that and codify it so that other keepers could do it,
Yeah.
And so I needed to come up with a system for the mysteries that worked in the way I wanted it to work. And the problem was I didn't want to reinvent the wheel each time in play testing. So what I did instead was I made another game. At that time, it was a smaller project, which I was like, okay, I'm going to do a different game to just test out the mystery system. And so I was kind of, spitballing with some folks, trying to figure out like what the game could be about. And we settled on this idea of Murder, She Wrote. And I was like, well, that's cool, but what could we take it to another level? And then someone said, what about Murder, She Wrote and H.P. Lovecraft? I was like, boom, got it. That's it. That's for me. And so Murder, She Wrote with a cosmic horror, angle was great. And so I made Brindlewood Bay to test out the mystery system for The Between. That was why I did it. It was almost like a sketch, right? But the response to Brindlewood Bay was so positive that we just kept developing Brindlewood Bay. We just kept writing more mysteries for it, and we kept releasing stuff in codex for it. And so it's become its own thing. And The Between did eventually get released. And that game is much better because of Brindlewood Bay. Like its mystery system just sings now because of what we learned in Brindlewood Bay, and they feed on each other too. Like we've taken a lot of learning from The Between and put it back into Brindlewood Bay. So the 2 games make this nice little design loop with each other. But yeah, that was basically it. It was just, I wanted to make something to try out the mystery system for this other game, and it just kind of became its own game. So
Right on. And with the minimal combat focus, I assume no combat because you're old ladies.
It's not like you would think in a normal role-playing game. No, yeah. I guess
I
they
mean,
theoretically could do combat, but it wouldn't work quite the same.
yeah, I mean, look, I've seen some old ladies who can kick my butt, but you know,
My friend
um,
Alicia Furness, she has put out a game that's like, I can't remember the name of it, something with grannies, but they're basically like murder hobo grannies, and that's pretty cool.
my God. But yeah, between that and the Powered by the Apocalypse like base system, I take it this is a pretty good like beginner game for somebody who's just trying to get into the hobby but might not be into like high fantasy.
Yeah, we have gotten, I personally, probably every week or every couple of weeks, someone messages me and they say, I'm either getting back into the hobby after being gone for a long time, or I just saw this and it got me interested in it. And Brindlewood Bay is like these people's entree into the hobby or back into the hobby. A lot of women love Brindlewood Bay, which is awesome, and are running it as GMs, which is awesome. And so, just based off of my anecdotal evidence, yes, it feels like it has a lot of accessibility to it. I think one of the things that makes it accessible is, um, while it is probably a little bit lighter mechanically than, say, Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, it is, the intricate part of the design is all kind of under the hood. You don't really have to interact with it too much. As long as you just play the game the way it's meant to be played, it kind of does what it does, you know? And so that's one part of it. Like, you're having this great experience, but you didn't really have to like work too hard to have that great experience. But also, I think that there's a certain, I think there's something about the game's themes and setting that makes it more accessible than a lot of other games, because, so I consider it a horror game, actually, more than a mystery game. It's a mystery game, but I consider it like a horror game as well. Like, it has, to me, it's got horror vibes, especially in the sort of mid to late campaign. And, but what I think makes that kind of, I've always thought that horror as a general matter goes down easier if there's a certain element of like humor or camp, or like there's like a little bit of lightheartedness that leads into the horror, you know, that kind of like makes it go down smoother. And I think that is working in Brindlewood Bay's favor also, right? Like, you have the murder mysteries, you have the horror parts of it, but then you've got this like, you know, you've got these like cuddly aunties and grandmas, you know, who are like knitting and baking, right? Like, you've got that kind of, that part of it. But as you play though, you know, you kind of move beyond those, like those cozy elements, into this darker place. And you also start to really understand these women as women, right? Like, it was really important to me that the characters not feel like caricatures, that like when you're actually playing them, they are like whole characters, you know, like they have interior lives and physical lives. And just because they're old doesn't mean they stop being, you know, vivacious humans, right? So I think all that comes together to just make it kind of really relatable in a lot of ways.
Understandable, yeah, yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up about Brindlewood Bay while we're here, or the supplement Nephews in Peril, which we haven't talked much about?
Yeah. So so the thing is, for the Kickstarter, to play the game, you only need Brindlewood Bay. You can do a full campaign with just the Brindlewood Bay book, and if that's all you go in for, that's awesome. The Nephews in Peril book just expands the setting and expands the variety of mysteries and gives you more options when you're playing. Also, the Nephews in Peril book has special mysteries that are called Sweeps Week mysteries. The Sweeps Week mysteries, the Sweeps Week mysteries are not necessarily murder mysteries, and they have more of a supernatural angle. So there's one called, for example, the Hex Files, and the Hex Files is about the Mavens are on their way to a convention when they discover a car accident with two FBI agents, two suspiciously good-looking FBI agents in the car. Right? They're going to this. They go to this town in New Mexico that looks a lot like Vancouver, and and they investigate a dark mystery going on in this town. Right? It doesn't have anything to do with the normal campaign. It's like outside of the normal campaign. So you've got those little Hex Files. You've got those little Sweeps Week mysteries, which sort of expand the campaign or give you side stories that you can do. You know. And yeah, so that's kind of the that's something that's in Nephews in Peril also. I do want to say one more thing about the Kickstarter though. We're going to have one add-on to the campaign, and we wanted to make the add-on really special. And when we were sort of thinking like, well, what could we do that would be special? We thought about the normal sorts of things like dice and cards and things like that. But what we decided to do is the add-on is going to be the Brindlewood Bay Community Cookbook. Now, the cookbook, it's like a found object in the fiction of Brindlewood Bay. It is like a fundraiser cookbook put together by members of the community, like characters in the story. The recipes are totally usable and real recipes, but here's the real kicker. In the margins of each page are notes about a murder mystery. And so you're playing a solo mystery role-playing game while you look through the cookbook. And so that is our add-on for the campaign. You'll be able to get the 2 books plus the add-on cookbook for one like lower priced bundle if you want, or you can just add on the cookbook to any pledge level. So we're pretty excited about that.
As well you should be. That rules.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun.
Your love for the genre here is very obvious, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's the one piece of consistent feedback I get from people when they read the version of Brindlewood Bay that's out there right now, which by the way is pay what you want, so please go download it. The one piece of really good consistent feedback I get is this feels like you on the page, like your loves and passions are so baked into it. And so I hope that resonates with people.
I mean, Sweeps Week Mysteries is hilarious as a concept.
Well, because it's so perhaps for some of our younger viewers who don't know what that is, a Sweeps Week was back during network television days. They would do special like stunt episodes of their shows in order to get a ratings boost for what was called Sweeps Week, was when they measured all the ratings for, to get paid. And so you would have episodes with like characters coming back to life, or they'd be going to like some place that they're not normally at, or it would just change up the show just for the sake of this one episode, right? And so that's what we're doing with this, because Brindlewood Bay is kind of presented like a TV show, and so these are like little special side stunt episodes, if you will, of the show. So
network television days were weird.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I grew up with. So,
oh, me too.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's where all the
stay tuned for my game about Saturday morning cartoons.
Hey, if you bring that same level of like love and attention to intricate detail to that, I am in.
Awesome, good. I will do it then.
Yeah, no, like this is really cool. The supplement book is excellent. I'm still internally giggling about, Sweet Week Mysteries, because that is a very strong concept.
Thank you.
And the cookbook, man, like, that's great.
We think it's going to be a really great project, and we hope everyone shows up for it. I mean, it is. We have one big stretch goal that I can't go into too much details, but it's one of the like later stretch goals if we can get there, which will be an entirely new campaign for the game. So the existing campaign is the occult conspiracy with this group they're called the Midwives of the Fragrant Void. They're trying to bring this monstrous child of Persephone up from the ocean, right? And so as you're solving the murder mysteries, you start to learn more about the Midwives of the Fragrant Void, right? And so that's like the main campaign of the game. And then you have the Sweeps Week Mysteries. But if we can do well enough in the Kickstarter campaign, we're going to have that whole like brand new campaign, and I'm really excited about that. So I hope we kind of get there. That'd be amazing.
You have a talent for naming things.
Thank you. I've discovered that I'm not a bad writer. I didn't know that about myself until I started doing role-playing games. So
I empathize with that far too deeply.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can just discover things about yourself when you just sit down and do them. It's like, oh, I didn't know that about me. So
it really makes you think.
Yeah, it does make you wonder. Like, wow, how many buses have I missed in my life?
Well, life's all about choices.
Yeah, indeed.
Jason, it's been lovely to have you on.
No, thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
Yeah, and for our lovely viewers, The Kickstarter starts in a couple of days. In the meantime, go check out Brindlewood Bay on Drive Through RPG. It's pay what you
Yep,
want right now. There's a link
it is
down
indeed.
below. Yeah.
Mhm.
And follow the Kickstarter and then back it once it's up.
Please do. Yes, that'd be awesome.
And yeah, have a good night, everybody.